We are in Boksburg Birchwood Hotel, where the first ever global small and medium-sized enterprises ministerial meeting organized by International Trade Center, the UN Small Business Agency, in partnership with the South African government for this inaugural edition will be taking place this week. We understand that the SME Ministerial is expected to gather ministers and heads of trade promotion organizations of more than 60 countries to raise political importance of the sector in the international arena. But for now, I am joined by the chairperson of the Startup20, Vuyani Jarana. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. Tell us a bit about what SU20 is.
The SABC Engagement Group is one of the G20 engagement groups focusing on promoting the startups and global entrepreneurship. What this group seeks to do is to prepare policy recommendations for the global leaders when they meet in November, so that we can make very firm proposals around what enabling policies must be put in place by all the G20 countries so that startups and SMEs can actually thrive and succeed. This is about how we onboard more and more people into business in a simplified manner, but reducing barriers, also providing a lot more enablement. So it's an important engagement group for G20.
I understand this is the first ever meeting. What brought this up?
Well, we've been working with the International Secretariat. We've got task forces that are in place that are focusing on specific themes. So this is the first interim meeting preparing for the final summit in November. Everybody who's here is going to be discussing first cut policy proposals that must be more inclusive in nature. That's why you've got more people in the hall to actually work on those themes and synthesize them. When they finish, a draft communique will be prepared, which will synthesize over the next couple of months and finally approve it in the SU20 summit in November to be ready to be presented to the G20 leaders when they sit, that is in November. So that's what we're about, to actually work on the policy proposals so that we can put together very clear recommendations to the global leaders in November.
And what are your expectations throughout this week, throughout these meetings?
Over the next 2 days, we're starting today and tomorrow we continue. The task forces of the various SU20 engagement groups are going to be going to breakaway sessions to discuss specific themes. We have themes around foundation and alliances, which talked about how to create an enabling infrastructure for SMEs to thrive. We talk about accelerators, incubators, what policy enablements we do to provide that must put in place to support this. We also talk about finance and investment. How do we make sure that financing is a lot more accessible to SMEs, not just in South Africa, but globally in the G20 countries. We talk about trade and market access. The world has become a global village in terms of trade. How do we make sure that startups and small businesses can actually export, for example, barriers to entry? We look at those things today. We'll also look at sustainability and inclusion, but most important for South Africa, we're going to be looking for SMEs, that is for township and rural enterprises. So these are the big themes, 5 of them, that we're going to discuss. At the end of the 2 days, we'll have a much more synthesized policy proposals around these themes. The teams are going to continue to work on them over the next 2 months. I think by November, the final summit for SU20 will actually look at well thought out policy proposal ready to be submitted to the global leaders. So that's the next 2 days for us.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. That is the chairperson of the Startup20, Mr. Vuyani Jarana, telling us about the days ahead, where they will be talking about ways to make things easier for startup enterprises in South Africa.